Mic was muted. Figured that one out, guys. Don't worry. So welcome. This is the 10,000 subscriber live stream special. Hopefully my mic sounds okay. I'm not yet caught up on stream on my end, so I can't necessarily tell. But here we are. And so today we're just going to be going through some Q&A stuff that I neglected for my 5K special, and then we're also going to be doing a bit of a watch party with the Luigi's Mansion video, just so I can kind of give some director commentary of sorts, talk about some behind the scenes stuff that went on with the video, you know, things of that nature. So first, let's go ahead and start off with the 5K Q&A. All right, so a while back, once I hit 5,000 subscribers, I actually had a question and answer planned, and we'll do another question and answer at the end of the stream, depending how it's going. Hi, Soggy Pretzels. Also, hi, Green Koopa. Both of you are in the chat. Thanks for chatting so far, and hope you enjoy the show. But I'm going to start off with some 5K Q&A questions that I didn't answer initially, because I ended up not making the 5K video and instead made the PlayStation 2 video only. So first off, these are questions from Patreon, and if you want, you can go ahead and go to my Patreon. It is now free for anyone to join. There is no paid tiers. I encourage all of you to join, because that's where you'll get some behind the scenes looks, some sneak peeks, and you can even vote in polls, stuff like that, to decide video stuff, and things of that nature. Maybe one day it'll be monetized, but for now, I can't put the energy that I want to put forth into it, so I am not monetizing it. So starting off from Patreon, we have a question from Eggles, and they ask, who are your favorite / inspirational YouTubers, both gaming and non-gaming channels? So I'm going to take a sip of water. So in terms of YouTubers, I would say that obviously, if you've watched any of my videos, it's pretty obvious that I think Gaming Historian is huge in this field, in this landscape. So he was definitely one of my biggest inspirations for even creating my channel and doing what I do now. And I would also say that Secret Base, they do a lot of sports coverage and sports video stuff. Their recent kind of like multi-video series on like the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons, those are incredible productions, and I think I personally achieve to get to that point in my production value. So I love both of those guys. I know Gaming Historian is taking a bit of a hiatus, but his stuff is really awesome. And then Secret Base, those are probably my two top ones. I do have some others that I'm blanking off of. Digital Foundry, I've loved their stuff for a while just for their technical analysis. And then I watched this guy named Chrism for zombies content. I'm a huge Call of Duty Zombies guy, so I watch his content whenever he uploads. But yeah, those are some of the inspirational YouTubers. And then we have a question from my man Green Koopa. They ask, what's a game on PS2 that you find annoying? Not like an annoying game, but a regular game that just irked you, if there is one. For me, it was True Crime New York. So this might be a hot take. This might be something that, you know, you might not want to hear, but I actually find Shadow of the Colossus incredibly annoying. I've tried to play it 2 or 3 times now, and every single time I just haven't enjoyed it. I just don't like it very much. There are so many things about it that really bother me, and I couldn't exactly tell you what it is that bothers me about them, but it bothers the heck out of me for some reason. So I generally choose not, or I've tried playing them. I can't do it anymore. Some of those ICO team games, it's just not my style, I don't think. But I was playing ICO or Eco, however you want to pronounce it, and I did enjoy that so far. I think I'm about like halfway through, and that's been really fun. So yeah, I'd say Shadow of the Colossus for PS2 games at least. And next, we're going to go on to some YouTube questions that I, again, neglected to answer for my 5K question and answer session. So first, we have at Say What Again 5999 asking, or they're saying, throwing a couple your way, feel free to take your pick. Favorite Pokemon design? Which do you think is more respected, horror video games or horror movies? If an impressionable young fan asked you for life advice, what would you tell them? And what's one thing about yourself that you want included in your future Wikipedia page? Wow, those are tough. Favorite Pokemon design, I think has to go to Arcanine. I think it's just so simple, and it's just lovely. I just love Arcanine. It's that's probably like the coldest take you've ever heard, but I love them. And then which do you think is more respected, horror video games or horror movies? I think that's actually really tough, because I think that horror video games, because of stuff like Five Nights at Freddy's, and some of the like jump scare-y games, I think I don't know. I would probably lean horror movies. But at the same time, horror movies get trashed on pretty consistently. So that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with horror movies, but I don't necessarily think that's the correct answer. And then if an impressionable young fan asked me for life advice, what would I tell them? Man, that's tough. I'd tell them to just go for it in a lot of ways. Learn, breathe, take your time, but do the things that make you happy, and believe in who you are as a person, but also be willing to challenge yourself and challenge what you might be thinking of certain things. That's a good piece of advice. Keep an open mind about a lot. Thanks for the great documentary. Just discovered you this month. I love the PlayStation Talks. Thank you, Mangy Stray. Sorry, I definitely butchered your name, but thank you for the comment. I'm glad you enjoyed the PlayStation Docs. I do have 2 videos in the works right now that I'm pretty excited for. One hopefully you'll see in the coming weeks, and then another one that you'll see probably in November-ish time frame. That's going to be a bigger one, and then the next one you'll see hopefully sooner, because it's a bit of a smaller one, but I hope you enjoy those. And then what's one thing about yourself that you want included in your future Wikipedia page? I don't think I'll have a future Wikipedia page if I'm being honest. I'll say that I have two chronic diseases. That might be TMI, but yeah, I have hemophilia. That's probably the most rare one, I guess, to talk about. But I think that would be important to be included in my Wikipedia page, just because it's done a lot for me. And then they also say, anyways, love you, man, and so proud of your progress. I know that you're going to keep pushing on to great things. Thank you. Say what again? 5999. Next, we have at parcel7277. I love you, bro. If you were required by the government to play one game for an hour every single day for a year straight, what would it be? That is so easy. That would be Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Zombies, or maybe at Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies, because then in theory, I could mod it a little easier. But yeah, I could play an hour of Zombies every single day for multiple years, probably. I think I could. I think that I could make a separate YouTube channel just playing Zombies, but I don't have the time or capacity or will to do that. And then if I had a kid that games, what would you try to make them play as a child? Legend of Zelda, hands down. They would need to be a Legend of Zelda fan in this household. So they'd probably start with Twilight Princess or maybe Breath of the Wild. But they definitely would be playing Zelda, and like that's it. that's really the only game that I would require them to play. And then at Huzi990, HUZI990 says, congrats, thank you very much, I appreciate that. And they say, what are some of your most significant / enjoyable / profound moments with video games? So I would have to say that I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan. So I think that my most significant and enjoyable moments from video games have to revolve around Legend of Zelda games. I would say that for me personally, Ocarina of Time, the ending, was immensely enjoyable, incredibly profound to me. And then I would also say, I was fairly young, but I wasn't super young when Skyward Sword came out. And the ending of Skyward Sword to me, as like, a 12, 13-year-old, was fantastic. It was just wonderful. I was super engrossed. I was super into the game. So both of those are pretty easy for me to say. I loved them as a kid, and now I still think that they're really solid. And then, I think it's pretty simple to say, but some of my most enjoyable moments come from just playing Super Smash Brothers or Mario Kart with a group of friends. I think that's, it can't be understated how important that is in general. So then we have at Nathan H6274. And he says, if you had the ability to prevent / alter the existence of one video game in history, only based on the impacts, in full or in part, it had on the direction of video games as a whole, which game would it be, and what would you change / have done differently? So I remember reading this when looking at my original 5K question and answer video, and just being stumped entirely. I think this is a really difficult question to ask, or it's not a difficult question to ask, it's a difficult question to answer, because I think there are a lot of video games that maybe were a product of its time, or just had issues that, couldn't be resolved. It shipped too early. But I also think it's hard to find one video game that had such a profound change in the industry. A lot of it's very collective. I think it would be easy to say something like E.T. for the Atari. I wish Atari E.T. for Atari was better, but I think that would be difficult, because then it's like, well, what would happen with the Nintendo Entertainment System if there wasn't the United States video game crash of the 1980s? So yeah, I think that's difficult. I would probably have to say, had one direction of the video games as a whole, which game would it be? Dang, I would probably have to say Sonic Adventure. That might be completely out of left field, but the one thing that I would change about it is that somehow it would be better. Whether that's more Sonic stages, or what have you, I would change Sonic Adventure to maybe focus more on the Sonic gameplay and really deliver what a lot of fans are wanting. So then hopefully it would increase the Dreamcast sales, and then the Dreamcast and Sega would still be around in today's market. But I don't know if that would happen necessarily. And then finally, at Indignation, or Indig_Nation 415 says, give me your hot takes, criminally overrated game and criminally underrated game. Justify it like you're talking to the director of each. All right. This is pretty easy. Oh, I just hit my microphone. This is pretty easy for me. It goes back to one of my takes earlier. I think that one of the most criminally overrated games is Shadow of the Colossus. And if I were to sit down with the director, I would sit down and I would say, you created this huge open world for there to be nothing in between. I go from point A to point B. I beat a boss at point A, and then I teleport back to the main area, and then I go to point B. And then I beat the boss. And that's it. That's the whole game. So I do something, add something in between there, add something to throw off the loop a little bit. Thank you, Soggy Pretzels. I know this is so based. And then my criminally underrated game. This I've been cooking for a while. It is Wario World for the GameCube. That game is pure, intense fun. And I want whoever made that to know that they did a great job designing levels. They did a great job with the movement. They did a great job with the combat of a Wario game. Just absolutely fantastic, wonderful game. Please, I think for the sake of it being underrated, director of Wario World, you need to lengthen it a little bit. Maybe add another world or 2 more worlds total. Flesh it out with maybe 4 or 8 more levels, and then you'll have a solid game, a solid runtime. And Wario World and Luigi's Mansion, I think, were both knocked a lot because of their runtime, and I think that it's a shame because they're both wonderful games in their own rights. So if both of those games, mainly Wario World, was just a little bit longer with some more impeccably designed levels, chef's kiss, would have been a hit for the GameCube. It would be known as a classic today. And that's it for the 5K Q&A that I didn't do like 2 months ago now. But thank you for all of those questions. Thank you, Eggles, Green Koopa, Say What Again 5999, Parcel 7277, Hoozy 990, Nathan H 6274, and at Indignation 415. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you tossing some questions in. So it seems like there are ads running, maybe. I don't know. I just noticed that it says ads will run shortly for some viewers. So I think I'm going to take a bit of a pause and not speak a whole lot while these ads are running. Chat, do we know if these ads break up? Like, are you just going to rejoin my live stream, but like not hear all the stuff that I said during the ad? Does anyone know how that works? I have it on my phone right now and I'm not getting ads, but I assume that's because I own the channel. So I can't, get ads, but whatever. NBD, I'm going to change something real quick. There it is. Extend. I guess these ads are not in the room with us anymore. I got a little notification on my stream thing stating that there are ads. But maybe I'm just a little crazy. But anyway, if it works like Twitch ads, then we can see the stream but not hear it. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know how it works. This is my first time live streaming on YouTube. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and get started with the watch party. So we're going to be watching Luigi's Mansion, my hit video that has now surpassed 90,000 views, I think, which is wild to me. But we are going to watch that, and I'm going to give a little bit of developer commentary or director commentary, talking about, you know, what I did to make this video, what I did to make things work, things like that. If you're lurking in the chat, please continue lurking. I hope you have a good time. Maybe you're just rewatching the video with me at this point. But if you have questions or you want to ask how I did certain things or where I got certain things, feel free to just drop a comment in chat while we watch it. I'm going to try to interrupt. I probably won't pause the video, but I'm probably going to continue, keep going, unless it's something really big. Damn, I didn't know Moist Critical had a 7th channel. Yeah, I'm Moist. Hey guys, how's it going? Pee pee poo poo. Hell yeah, I love the videos. Hey, thanks Finn Escobar, I appreciate you. 90k is crazy, Afin. I hope I pronounced that right, but 90k is crazy. The Donkey Kong video just hit 100k, and I thought that was going to be the most voted for in terms of watch party, but instead Luigi's Mansion somehow won out with like 26% of the vote. But anyway, we're going to start this. I want everyone to know that before we start, as you can see under my channel logo, like right here, we have a Hit Save. They are a nonprofit video game preservation organization. So any revenue or any, you know, monetization that this stream brings up will be donated to Hit Save, the organization. They're good friends of the channel. I'm not officially affiliated with Hit Save. I just decided to do this and give them a little bit of money, however much money this makes. I don't even know if we'll make anything, but if we do make money, if there is any money that comes in through super chats, regular monetization, what have you, it will be going directly to Hit Save. So we are supporting another version of video game preservation, and that's the idea. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this party started with Luigi's Mansion. Oh, an online opponent or a friend on the couch helping. I just realized, I think you might not have been able to hear that. So let me go back and we'll start again. Games have always had a player too, whether it be a backseat gamer, a younger sibling holding an unplugged controller, an online opponent, or a friend on the couch helping clear a difficult level. One character throughout gaming's short history has become the face of Player 2, the face of the younger sibling, and an industry icon in the shadow of his older brother, Luigi. Luigi would make his debut in the Mario Bros. Arcade game as the character for anyone. So, fun fact for that intro, I did actually have to like record a bunch of that stuff, and I tracked Luigi as he was running. Why did it pause? You're doing a great job, pal. Aw, thank you, Matthew Egley. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, what? Thank you, Matthew Egley. Oh my lord. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for supporting the show, and thank you for supporting Hit Save, because that's where that is going to be going to. I appreciate that a ton. I'm currently trying to figure out why this just paused for no reason. Oh, that looks messed up. Okay. This is going great so far, I think. How are you guys feeling? Nice Luigi montage. Thank you. Yeah, I had to record a bunch of those different games and then like motion track Luigi when I was doing that. But also the intro, fun fact about that intro with the controllers. I do have a wife, but I actually did that all by myself during one of my lunch breaks because I wanted to kind of just get it out of the way basically. And that's how it turned out. But yeah, let's go ahead and start going again. Sprite swap. In the Nintendo 64 era, Luigi wouldn't make the cut for Super Mario 64, but would continue to appear in Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario Tennis, and Mario Golf, always as the second choice after Mario. After he didn't appear in Super Mario 64, it seemed that Luigi would stay in the shadow of
He
his
should have
brother,
appeared in Mario
only
64.
showing up in spin-offs
Oh,
and side games
getting
with
an error.
siblings everywhere.
YouTube is not responding. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Let me see. So it says I'm getting poor service. Do you guys seem to be having issues with any of the live stream? Because I'm getting errors out the wazoo from YouTube, but I don't know if I should ignore those or what. But it seems like everything's going okay. So I'm just going to keep going, I guess.
Ever
But
getting a chance to take the lead.
so
All of that would change with Space
turn
World
that down a little bit.
2000.
So how long does an average script or average video take to make from script to uploading? That's a great question. It generally depends on the video. So for example, the Luigi's Mansion video and I would say that take maybe a month altogether. The issue that I have is I kind of run into problems or I just kind of like don't do things correctly. And then I kind of just like stop doing it for a little bit. So I would say in terms of like sole hours or like days that I work on it, I would say it can take upward of a month. Sometimes, you know, that can be shorter if it's a shorter video. Like the Super Mario RPG video actually took quite a bit less time. But it also depends on how much I feel like editing and how crazy I am. For example, the Luigi's Mansion video, that was all edited in 1 week, which I would not recommend.
Began as
But
a game developed
yeah.
for the Nintendo 64. While there isn't an exact timeline on when the game began development, it's
Okay.
most likely to have
I'm
started
seeing that it
sometime
seems to be
around
running fine,
1998
so
or even
just let me know if there's any issues. From what I can tell, there doesn't
Rumored
seem to be,
development
but
for the
YouTube is
Nintendo
giving me a
64
bunch of errors, so
failed
just want to
add-on
make
for
sure.
the Nintendo 64 that gave the console increased specifications. An interview with Nintendo Online Magazine, translated by Insider, reveals the game was in fact originally on the Nintendo 64.
You know what's
Eventually,
crazy about that
development was
part
shifted over to
is
the
when I
GameCube,
mentioned the
which was
Nintendo
codenamed
64
Dolphin
disk
at the
drive,
time.
that
Some
actually got
sources
turned
claim
into a
the game's
Kotaku
development was
Australia
kickstarted
article.
after the demo was created.
You can look it up if you
According
look
to
up my
design
name
director
and
Tadashi
Kotaku
Sugiyama,
Australia.
the game began with the idea
It's
of
someone
having
quoted
to
my
explore
video
a
and made
huge
like
house.
an article out of
Initially,
it, and
started
it was
out
really
as a
cool. I talked to
Japanese-style
the writer of that article,
before shifting
but they
over
were
to
really
the
cool.
apartment complex,
But yeah,
and
just
finally
a
the
little
American-style
funny
Haunted
tidbit there.
Mansion. While the game was in the early design phases, the primary idea was having the player walk around and explore the many different
Also,
rooms,
if you didn't know
similar
this
in
or
vein
can't
to
tell,
the Legend of Zelda series dungeons.
99% of the footage that I capture, especially if it's gameplay, that is my own stuff. I do have a capture card and things like that. Normally I just emulate it if it's an older game, but I do have capture cards to capture this stuff and use it however much I like. I don't like relying on other recordings or long plays, not because of any specific reason. I just kind of like to play the games as I'm writing or after or before I'm writing, just to make sure I'm kind of fresh on everything.
Luigi's Mansion was almost Mario's Mansion, as the game didn't have a specific direction. While doing the initial designs, they toyed with who the main character would be. Eventually, the team.
Oh man, I hate that keyframing.
Himself.
I still don't like that. I wish I would have cleaned that up a little bit, because they were kind of like
to a haunted house setting,
weird.
Hideki Kono,
Just not a huge fan.
Luigi's Mansion, decided that Mario, quote, has too much of a reputation for being a hero to be believable as a frightened explorer, and it, quote, wasn't part of Mario's personality to be surprised or frightened. So the development team decided on the cowardly Luigi instead. Luckily for Kono and the team, Luigi being a bit of a coward had some history behind it. Not only with the Atari Mario
This whole
Brothers
history
commercial,
thing
with
I thought
Luigi
was
screaming out
interesting
for Mario,
because I just really didn't know that Luigi was
with
like,
the voice actor Charles Martinet.
you know,
In the 90s,
nervous.
Martinet would do a
Is
facial
this my first
capture
video? No,
with
no,
Mario
this
at
is far
trade
from my
shows,
first video,
answering
unfortunately.
questions in the too familiar Mario
I think this
voice.
is a really high quality
Some kids would
video.
ask about Luigi, though,
But
and how would Mr. Martinet
these,
react?
I think this was, I can't remember which video this is. It's not my first though, but I'm glad you're enjoying the work. But no, it's not my first video. I think the first video that I would claim under the video game docs banner is the Sega Saturn video, which I'm still proud of. That was a really good stepping stone, but it's not to the quality that I would hold it to today.
Layout began being built. The team had decided early on that a 3-floor, 1-basement
Okay,
layout
so
would work best.
this
The challenge for them was how to make it interesting. Hideki Kono was originally making maps based off.
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to think. Maybe not this.
Some of
Maybe
these
not this.
ideas included not only a desert area but a prairie area as well. Since
I
they
also
moved over
dislike that I
into a
didn't
more
source a lot of
Western
stuff
style,
here.
They included things like a huge
I should go back and do that sometime so that people know where I'm getting a lot of this information. A lot of this information is not free information, but it's from the Luigi's Mansion guide, the official English guide that Nintendo released. It had a lot of developer interviews and stuff, and that's where I pulled a lot of this. So,
if the player performed certain actions. While Kono and the others were working on the map and layout of the mansion, the team had character designers working in parallel. While they had designs of the characters on paper with thoughts of this being an N64 game, one question was brought up early on. Should the game include Mario characters? Of course, you had Luigi.
Those arrows are silly.
Those Mario characters we knew and loved. While the developers weren't too sure on whether they should include familiar faces,
I also thought this was a bit comedic. I didn't know if I should put it in. My wife didn't want me to, if I remember correctly. But I ended up doing it because I thought it was funny.
Given it took place in a haunted mansion, Toad as a way for the players to save.
That's Luigi's Mansion 2 render, I think.
One new character
Maybe 3.
added to the mix was Professor Egad. With a very punny name, Egad would help
Love that guy.
in the mentor
Love
role
Egad.
throughout the adventure and would become a staple of sorts to the Mario Brothers lore. Mario himself would
Aside from being in Sunshine and this, Egad would also have contraptions in Mario Party 5, I believe, which you could build tanks in. So I thought that was interesting.
The game was expected to be a launch title. It gave the team a chance.
That's footage I captured of my GameCube.
According to Hiroki Sotoke, the main program
ripped apart. That one right there, actually. The one that's poorly painted. But yeah, I ripped that open and then did some videos of it.
Nintendo 64 handled light rendering, crisp shadows were not feasible. The GameCube, on the other hand, wasn't fully
Really crisp shadows.
by the time the Luigi's Mansion team had started their work. This meant that they were able to make requests for technical capabilities, such as the ability to create nice shadows. In developing a dark, horror-esque game,
I wish I had done this better too.
Important.
Voice
The
crack.
developers were able to
How many
attach
hours does it take to
real-time
finish
shadows
a
to
1 hour
all
video?
objects,
Oh man.
and it was rendered in real
That's
time
tough.
thanks to the GameCube's
That's a tough question.
GPU. The
Um,
GameCube's new GPU was pretty fancy.
I think it
something developers
depends.
had to get used to was the use of discs.
So like for example,
compensate
the
for the lower
Donkey Kong
price
64
point of
video,
disc-based
that took
consoles, Luigi's Mansion only loads a few rooms at a time.
nearly a
This
year.
makes loading
But that was because I took time off and I just like stopped working on it entirely. I think research and scripting can generally take me about 2 weeks if I'm working on it every single day. Sometimes I work weekends and stuff like that, but I do hold a 40-hour job. I don't just do YouTube, so I do hold an actual job. So it's a little harder for me to get some of these videos out in a timely manner and the way that I like. But I would say I could spend, I think on Luigi's Mansion even,
one for movement and the other for control of Luigi's
upwards of
flashlight
200
back.
hours probably.
With that in mind, the team also further
For a 1 hour
simplified the
video
use of buttons.
especially.
Since much of Luigi's Mansion
Like Donkey Kong
gameplay came
64,
down to
Luigi's
both
Mansion,
sticks,
PlayStation 2,
once the GameCube controller
those
was
videos all
designed
I would
to
probably
the
say
core gameplay
at
loop
least
of Luigi's
150
Mansion
hours.
would include the use of both the
but
main analog stick,
I couldn't
the
quite
C
tell you. I
stick,
kind of
the L
blank
and
out
R
when I do
buttons,
some of this stuff.
and the V button. If you
But
look
yeah,
at the GameCube
my favorite
controller,
Mario
the
game,
layout
this is
itself
actually an insane
emphasizes
thing,
the big green
but I
A
actually
button.
really prefer
However,
Super
in
Mario
Luigi's
Sunshine.
Mansion,
I'm a
the
huge
A buttons
GameCube
only
guy,
ever used to interact with the
so
environment
Super Mario
and
Sunshine is my personal favorite, but I also do really love Super Mario Odyssey, and I can't discount Super Mario Galaxy 2, actually. I prefer 2 over 1, but that's because I started with 2 and then went back and played 1. But I would say if I had to rank them, Sunshine, Odyssey, Galaxy 2. But it depends on the day for me. But if you count Luigi's Mansion is easily my favorite Mario game, but it's a Luigi's Mansion game, so.
Most games. According to Sotoike, The development team
Man,
ended
I don't
up
know if I'm
having
pronouncing
more ideas
that
toward the
name
end of
right.
Development than cutting features.
Sotoike?
One of these features added late in development was the use
Sotoike.
of the B
Ah,
button
I
entirely.
feel like I looked it up, but I messed it
In-game,
up.
the B
Sunshine
button acts
based.
as a
Yes,
toggle for your
thank you.
flashlight, allowing the player
Skineel.
to hold down B and let it go to
Thank
capture
you.
a ghost
Sunshine
more easily.
is a good
The
game.
legendary Shigeru
I will
Miyamoto
die on
came
that
up with
hill.
that idea, believing the player should have more things to do with the A and B button. One of the things the team focused on was also directly influenced by Miyamoto: responsiveness. Kono-san states, Mr. Miyamoto really values the feeling of control responsiveness in our games. For example, when you check the walls, Luigi used to go through an elaborate animation before he tapped on the plaster.
This is something that I actually think is really interesting, in that Miyamoto seems to be the one that thinks it should just happen. And that's something that I personally struggle with video games. Like, if I'm playing a game and I do something and it takes me like an extra 3 seconds because there's an animation to do it, it kind of bothers me. So I thought that that was a weird thing for Miyamoto to be like, hey, I don't like this. But then like, in playing it, I do fully understand it, even if it might not be as immersive.
To enable 3D effects. Satoru Iwata, who became president of Nintendo after the GameCube launched,
I also think that this was the first video that I implemented the like highlighting effect that you'll see right here. And the way that I do that is I actually just copy the layer, crop it, and then make it yellow, which is a terrible way of doing it. Do not do that. But I don't do it anymore. I do a different way. But originally I would copy the entire layer, color it yellow, and then crop it. And then that was how it went. But thankfully I don't do that anymore. Something that you might notice in a lot of my videos is I really like taking some time in transitions or intros and outros. So that was one of those intros and outros that I was really proud of with the thing. But
to do so, they showed off a sizzle reel of upcoming games, and Luigi's Mansion in particular was shown off in this reel. The footage shown did not include any gameplay, but did give a solid look at how the game was pushing the GameCube. After Space World, there wasn't a lot of information.
I'll admit, sometimes when I do stuff like this, I kind of feel like a ripoff of Beta 64. Oh, that's another YouTuber that I love. Beta 64. Love that dude. And I love his live streams as well. I'm in there as a lurker sometimes, but great guy.
Showcase the GameCube in all of its glory, showing many in development titles, but most importantly, giving a new look at Luigi's Mansion through a trailer. The trailer included footage seen at Space World 2000, but would also show gameplay, showing real-time shadow mapping, realistic-looking vacuum.
Something that I think is really underrated about Luigi's Mansion is the music. Like I'm just vibing to this stuff right now. This is great.
With Luigi rotating and shining his light on a pink ghost, stunning it and revealing its heart. Luigi would then use his
see, with this video, I remember talking a lot more about like beta footage and stuff like that, and I don't know if I love that personally. Like,
from heat.
I don't know what you guys think, but it's just kind of like,
players were also given a glimpse
it's something
at
that's
some
cool,
more
but
human-looking ghosts, which would eventually be known as portrait ghosts. It also
yeah,
seemed to include
you're right. He doesn't really make videos like that anymore. Van Escobar. I think he is working on a new video. I wish he made videos like he did, because I just really like this stuff. But I do enjoy his live streams. I like I said, I hop in there sometimes. But you know, when I was like younger, watching Beta 64 videos is like what helped me realize that I wanted to do this. Kind of as a hobby.
Of course, the game also had a live demo that showed more of these features in real time, like Luigi pulling the curtain in the bathroom to the side. And
now stuff like this, I do really enjoy looking at beta footage of this game, because I think like the time and
highlighted was how fast the game loaded.
Okay, no, they're not gonna. I'm not talking about it yet. But the time constraint is crazy.
Allowing attendees to take Luigi for a spin in this brand
yeah, no, I think you're right.
One player, Shane Satterfield of
Austin,
details that quote controlling
like Luigi's Mansion. I think I enjoyed talking about it in this one because
the bathroom is
some of the beta stuff was crazy different, like just wildly different, and that was really cool to look at and to like figure out and talk about. But sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, should I be talking about it?
But IGN also had a chance to demo the game at E3 and wrote about it as well. Some of their comments include, quote, exceptionally good character animation, dazzling lighting effects, amazing transparency, simple yet addictive gameplay, and a fresh, inventive soundtrack complemented by quirky sound effects. Though they did note some negatives, like how, quote, the E3 version had a lack of puzzles and boss enemies.
I think the lack of puzzles is something that they kind of did later.
Dual analog doesn't seem quite Nintendo style. And
I also don't fully understand the issue with the dual analog thing. Like, that's just silly to me. But that's something that's also really fun about like reading a lot of this stuff, is like seeing what people did or didn't like, and then like actually experiencing some of these things as I research. It's hard sometimes to remove what I like about a game and, you know, take these things and kind of put them together. I try to be as unbiased as I can be when writing and creating these videos, but sometimes it's a little hard.
Their biggest concern was still the dual analog setup, making it harder for new players. While that was
if anyone has played Luigi's Mansion, did you guys have issues with the dual analog? Because it like came naturally to me, and I was like a child when I first played it.
Hitting North American shelves on November 18th, 2001. The game itself starts with Luigi traveling to this creepy mansion. One that
I love Luigi's Mansion.
Compared to the brochure.
You might notice some glitches in this footage because I think this is emulation footage. You can see Luigi's face kind of mess up there at the beginning.
After running from a group of ghosts, EGAD takes Luigi to his lab. This lab area acts as a bit of a hub world for the player. Instead of saving a specific room or floor for the player to start at when the game begins, you start back at the lab, with EGAD asking where you'd like to go. Luigi finds out Mario has already entered the mansion.
Soggy Pretzels? I know, dog.
After he entered.
Luigi's Mansion 3 co-op?
The only way to save
Peak.
Mario is to give Luigi
with Luigi himself.
3000 to help fight the ghosts. The player is then given control in the training area, teaching the player the basic mechanics.
You only played 2 and 3? That is wild. Not in like a bad way. I just like, I love 1 so much that it's hard for me to imagine starting with 2 or 3. I love 2 and 3, don't get me wrong, but I love 1 so much. Oh, more ads will run shortly for viewers. See, I'm getting that bug now. Are you guys getting ads? Are you getting ads?
The R button turns the poltergust on to suck up ghosts, and the B button is used to turn the flashlight on and off. EGAD helps the player through these.
This is also something I kind of struggle with when creating these videos, is like, do I want to talk about gameplay in such an in-depth point where it's like I'm basically just like recapping the game? That's something that I don't know if I love, but it's it's something that I do in this video, and I think I do in the Donkey Kong 64 video. So
EGAD also equips the player with the Game Boy Horror, which serves as the menu.
I'm assuming that nope is for no ads, Soggy Pretzels. That's so weird. Only some viewers it's saying, so maybe not everyone.
A first-person viewpoint
I don't know.
to get hints about ghosts or teleport with mirrors, and of course,
not my problem.
EGAD through FaceTime. Then it's off to the mansion. The mansion itself isn't much different from the initial training segment, except now you have a bit of exploration and puzzle solving to do. Like in the first room, the player needs to blow out the purple candles to begin the battle, or how opening this wardrobe spawns a hiding ghost. Then you rinse and repeat for each quote area of the mansion. The game has 4 areas in total.
Okay, I am going to pause it right here. I would play GameCube games are expensive, still wishing they make a GameCube library for Switch. Yes, I do agree with that. GameCube games are expensive. Luigi's Mansion is unfortunately one of the more expensive. Not like super expensive, but it is expensive. Like, it's more than what I think a used game should be. But I do highly recommend playing Luigi's Mansion if you can. If you happen to get the 3DS version, I think that's a good port. But I think the GameCube version is probably the best way to play it. Either through legal emulation means, wink, or on the original GameCube. But I second that wholeheartedly. I hope they make a GameCube library for the Switch, and I hope that Luigi's Mansion is the first game on there. Now, this part, this I really want to talk about. I was waiting for this. So, this whole thing, I don't know if I have the magazine with me, but I took the player's guide and I scanned it with a scanner. And then I went into Photoshop and I layered it all individually because, and the reason why I scanned is because I wanted to make sure I got the highest resolution possible because I wanted this to be a really cool effect. And I scanned it. I went into Photoshop and I took each of these, like the pink, the green, the yellow, the blue. I took all of them and created separate layers for them so that I could layer it on top in the way that you see in the video. So let's rewind a second.
Then you rinse and repeat for each, quote, area of the mansion. The game has 4 areas.
Yeah, so like that whole effect, that took me so long. And on top of that, it really drug my computer down. It made my computer want to cry because of how hard it was working. Like, the scans were such high resolution that it was having a ton of issues when rendering this and actually trying to do it. But anyway, I just wanted to gush about that. I love that so much. And I actually love this whole section a lot because I think like this effect where it like comes out, it blurs everything else. I took a lot of time into this, especially with the portraits and everything. Man, I love this section. And then like moving it all back, giving you a video. Oh, I love this. I love this video so much.
Turn the ghost back into portraits. Here you can tell how well you did against the portrait ghost. The player is given one of 3 frames: a gold frame, a silver frame, and a bronze frame.
This
gold frames
section actually hurt me a little bit because I had to record myself getting a silver, gold, and a bronze.
Silver is awarded by
and
50 to 89%.
I've played Luigi's Mansion so many times that generally when I play through it, I 100% it, which means I don't take any damage and I get all of the money I possibly can and get all gold frames. So it kind of hurt to like forcibly hurt myself down to bronze on some of those. But that's just a funny little tidbit because I play this game so much. I probably do like a yearly or bi-yearly run through of the game just whenever I feel like it. It doesn't take too long, so it's fun.
Special ghosts that may be frozen or on fire. Using the element will hurt the ghost, which is slower.
And again, all of this
but still works.
Footage was by me. So if you're like, man, this footage looks like terrible. This player stinks at the game. That is me. So be careful about that.
Luigi also accidentally releases boos into the mansion, including the great King Boo himself. Egad advises that Luigi will need to search each room to suck up the boos, as they gain strength when they're together. They also act as a key of sorts, meaning that the player cannot continue at certain points in the game until they've caught a certain number of boos. The portrait ghosts in Area 2 are
Pilgrimage to the Mansion,
a dancing couple who can no longer compete in the waltz competition, Shivers,
Indeed.
the butler who is in love with Pianissima but lacks.
I had something to say. Oh, the boo thing. I didn't know that either. I didn't know that you had to collect a certain amount of boos, just because I always did when I played.
Super Mario Brothers. Mr. Lugs.
But yes, okay, Soggy Pretzels. I get it now. A Pilgrimage to the Mansion. That really confused me for a second, but I get what you're saying now.
Which is Bogmire, a manifestation of the mansion's fear and despair. Area 3 continues to open up the mansion, allowing the player to access the rest of the second floor, and some rooms on the first that they hadn't yet explored. Luigi also gets access to the final elemental coin, Ice, in the dining room. With the rest
yeah, see, like, I'm really proud of this section of the video, but at the same time, it's like, man,
no new mechanics necessary.
Did I have to go through all of this? You know,
some backtracking, moving back and forth.
I want to know, like, if you're watching this video, or when you did watch this video, like, did you find this part interesting? Like, is this something that I should continue doing in my videos, or is it just like, you know, I might skip this part because it's just like a recap of the game itself. I feel like it can be important to talk about like the history of the game and then talk about how the game plays, but I don't know. I'm still up in the air on this.
You're onto the boss and into the final area. Of course, you do take the ghosts you encountered back to EGATS for the portrification, and the Area 3 ghosts include Biff Atlas, an optional
Biff Atlas.
ghost who loves his
I also didn't know Biff Atlas was optional.
Mia,
I always just beat him.
Ghost competitor. Nana, a knitting grandma who loves to play pranks on Petunia. Slim Bang.
That's the other thing.
Competitive pool playing.
I didn't know. On top of Biff, I didn't know that they were even optional ghosts. Like the uncle they would get later, I didn't even know that was like you could miss him. I didn't know that.
who, after showing all of Mario's belonging, asked to be put back into her portrait. Then the player captures Boo Losses, a large boo made up of about 15 smaller boos. These boos do count towards your overall.
Hey, Sarah didn't want this channel. Thanks for joining.
35,
I've actually been binging all your videos in release order for the last 3 days just so there's Mario 61. Ah, I'm glad you could join us. If you didn't see anything about it, that was my dog that just shook his head. But if you haven't heard anything about it, this is just a Q&A type live stream, director's commentary on Luigi's Mansion, and
one of the benefits
this is also in benefit of Hit Save, a non-profit organization. So if you feel like, you know, tossing any money at all, then feel free to. All of the revenue and monetization from this stream will be going to hitsave.org to help their video game preservation efforts.
As much money as possible. Special blue ghosts or quick ghosts spawn in certain rooms. These ghosts are a bit harder to catch.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mangy Stray.
But if you do,
there are a lot of things that I do where I'm like, man, is there really a point in doing this? But I'm glad to, you know, see the feedback that like things like that really makes it higher quality, and that's the idea. Is I want to make the highest quality content possible, no matter what. So even if I have to pull like 3 overnighters and work a week straight to get this video out, but I don't do that anymore, thankfully. So
Sir Weston, an Arctic explorer who hates being a ghost so much he hides in ice. And finally,
also, can you guys hear the video okay? Like, I didn't even think about that. I can hear it, so I assumed you could.
With the final key leading to the basement, Luigi goes into the altar room to find
this part. As a kid, like the whole Mario in a portrait thing, it scared me so much. I was terrified. But you know, as a little kid, I pushed through and really did it.
Madame Clairvoyant's prediction correct. That Luigi would need
okay, everyone, look away. This is a spoiler. I got a comment on that stating that this is a spoiler a while ago. So I'm sorry if I spoiled Luigi's Mansion, a 23-year-old game for you, but I did do that.
Reverses the machine.
Maybe make it louder.
Mario to be sucked out of the portrait.
I gotcha.
Giving the brothers a happy ending with Luigi.
I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being drowned out by the video, but I'll turn it up a bit.
Going from room to room, searching the huge mansion and capturing ghosts is a fun one, if a bit simple.
Hopefully that's a bit better.
Designers argued back and
Thank
forth
you,
while
Sarah
rating
didn't want
the
this
game
channel.
and how hard or easy the game should be. According to Kono,
we wanted to make a game like Yoshi's.
Hey!
We reached the ending after
Shout out to my good friend Gino for doing the voice in this. Very last minute, but they did a great job, I think.
Initially stemmed from wanting to display realistic effects like the dust particle.
One of our early challenges was to display fire, water, and atmospheric effects realistically. At first, dust clouds used a fixed animation that looked the same every time. It didn't look very interesting, so we created a solution through programming that would change the amount of dust that flies around the room, depending
Sweet.
on the level of activity.
Thanks for the feedback, Sarah.
Room.
I really appreciate that. Also love the Wind Waker profile picture. I think that's Wind
Luigi in a
Waker.
more cowardly
Hard to
way.
tell from here.
Showing off the technical capabilities and the controller of the GameCube was very important to the team. Technical innovation
Something they definitely
aside,
need to get
the team
better
also
about, and
wanted something
trust me,
new.
I've heard your
We wanted to
feedback
create something that is
on this video and other
innovative,
videos is I need to
something
make sure that I'm
also
fully
experience.
hydrated before I do the
Mystery
voiceover.
Toy Game. Once Luigi
So that
claims his
I don't
crown of
sound
the hero,
weird or anything
and
like
after you
that.
see the credits, you are then given your rank for the game. Depending on your rank, you get
The dog's
a
looking out
different
the window.
mansion and,
Wanna make
in
sure
theory,
everything's
a
alright.
different ending. With ranks going from A, B, C, D.
This is something that I also wish I
F,
did over.
G, and even H.
I don't like how I
The
did
rank
this.
you get is solely
I don't like that
dependent
it's
on how
up
much
on
money you
screen for
receive
so
or
long,
collect through the game.
but
With A rank,
you know, it is what it
you
is.
finish
I
the
was
game with
on a time
$1
crunch
million.
internally,
B rank, you need
so
at least
I did that,
$70 million.
unfortunately. But
C rank, $60 million. D rank, $50 million. E rank, $40 million. F rank, $20 million. G rank, $5 million. And H rank, $5,000 to $4,999,000. The A rank is easily one of the hardest to get, almost requiring the need to catch these special ghosts, and of course get some of the big.
I don't remember if I mentioned it
diamond or the
in this video, but
whereas the H rank,
the
is
European
almost impossible
version,
to get, because normally if you complete the game
the
like
European
normal,
version is like
you will at
way
some
more
point get
difficult
over
from what I
$5 million
remember.
since it's not
Just the way that the money system works. But I just think that's interesting, and I thought it was interesting that like getting an H is very hard.
Luigi's Mansion is not the type of experience you traditionally expect from a game launching with a new Nintendo console. Not just anyone can pick it up and
This
start playing.
soundtrack,
Anyone who thinks this is a sequel
this
to
end
Mario
credits
64
theme,
should be
just so
forewarned.
good.
Those issues aside, this is a fantastic example of what the GameCube is going to be
This,
about,
I
and a
think I
masterful
was able to
example of
fix
game design
beforehand,
to show off to your
but I
friends.
can't remember now.
Luigi's Mansion is a
But
must-have
that's
for
also
Game
something
Cube
that's
owners,
like not
and gives
stated,
the
or
system a
you know,
new
people might
star.
forget or not
Tokyo
know.
Drifter,
But like,
GamePro
there are
dot com.
multiple times when exporting
Was the team
videos
able
where
to
things will
achieve
just
what
mess
they
up
wanted?
or things won't
According
look
to the
right.
critics at the
And
time,
so I'll
yes,
have to
albeit
go
most
back and
admitted
re-export
that
the
there
entire
should have been a
video
bit
or
more.
do some more
The game
editing and then
currently holds
re-export
a
everything.
78 out of 100
But
on Metacritic, and just about every reviewer has
it's just
praised
tough
the
sometimes.
graphical
You
features
can't catch
on
everything.
display
And
with
sometimes you have to
Luigi's
watch the
Mansion.
video
Many reviewers love the
of
overall design
100%
and
all the way
gameplay.
through to make sure that
The
nothing went
biggest
wrong.
complaint levied against
So-
Luigi's Mansion was its short length. Matt Casamassina from IGN wrote,
Luigi's Mansion is fun while it
And
lasts.
shout out to
It
my
really
good
is.
friend
The
Nikita,
problem is that the game
for
doesn't really offer much
doing
in the way of
this
variety.
voiceover
And
as well.
The adventure ends abruptly 5 or 6 hours after it started. This may be Nintendo's internal flagship launch title, but it's certainly not the GameCube.
What's my
equivalent of
favorite
Mario
Zelda?
64, as
That's
many
really
of us were
tough.
hoping for.
Brandon Williams of GameSpy.
Mine
wrote,
ended up being
"It
Link to
looks
the Past.
great, plays
Hot
well,
take,
and is pretty
I
unique,
don't
which
love
is
A Link to the
becoming
Past
more
as
and
much
more
as other
unusual
people
these
do.
days. But the
I think it's a
bottom
really
line is
good
that
game,
although
don't get me
Luigi's
wrong, but
Mansion
I'm a
is
lot
a
lower on it than
technically
most people would
competent and
be.
fun title, it really
it-
lacks any kind of
depending on the
longevity
day,
or replay value.
Depending on when you
Becoming
ask
that
me,
repetitive.
my favorite
While it
Zelda
was
game is
lacking
either
in
Breath of the
Luigi's
Wild,
Mansion
Twilight
really did
Princess,
receive praise
or
in every other department.
Ocarina of
Just
Time.
about every critic
It,
heralded
I would say
as
more
one of
so
the most
than
visually
anything,
striking
it's
games,
Ocarina of
with
Time.
GameSpot noting, it's the little things such
But
as these that show the
Twilight
attention
Princess
to
is
detail
really
that
the
was
first
paid
one that
while
I
creating
played
this game.
all the way through,
And
and
that
it
set
kind
it
of
apart
got me
from the
into
majority of
Zelda,
early
and then I
game
went back and
offerings.
played the older
And
ones.
GameSpy stated,
And
"The
then
GameCube's
I love
visual
Breath of the Wild.
prowess
I absolutely
manifests
love the
itself
game
with
design of it and
superb
everything that it
lighting and
did.
mist/dust particle
But
effects,
I
as well
think
as
mine,
gorgeous
honestly, is
transparency and
probably
reflective
Ocarina of Time,
routines.
maybe even...
Many
yeah,
reviewers also
it's tough
praised the
because it's like
uniqueness of
I
the
could
game,
say all
referring
three
to
of
the
them,
gameplay
but it
as,
just
quote,
depends on the day
brilliant
for me.
and on
I think
par
today
with
I'm
any
thinking
of its
Ocarina of
best,
Time though,
and,
so...
quote, a masterful example of game design. Famitsu even gave the game a gold rating, giving the game 2 9s and 2 8s. While reviews were positive to Nintendo, one thing mattered
And
most: sales.
This is something
With the
that,
game launching
you know,
first in
talking about
Japan,
reviews
it
and sales,
probably
this is
sold
something
less
that
than
I
Nintendo's
think is
Play,
really
with
interesting as
about
well, because I don't
116,000 games
really
being sold within its first
pay
week.
attention to that
It was,
stuff,
however,
especially when
the
I was a
best-selling
kid.
launch title
So
in Japan.
it was
When Luigi's
hard
Mansion
or
launched in the
weird for
US,
me
it
to like
became the
love this game
best-selling
for so
GameCube
long
launch
and then
title, the
just
best-selling game of
learn
November
later
2001,
on that
selling
the
over
GameCube didn't sell very well,
257,000 units
or
during
you
its
know,
first
people
week.
didn't like Luigi's
Nintendo
Mansion
even
because
made
it
the
was
claim that the game was
a
one of the
launch
main
title,
reasons
but then
the GameCube
researching it
was
and
selling
finding
so
people
well,
saying
stating
like,
it had sold more
hey,
copies
like
in
this
its
is a
opening
really
week
good
than Super
game,
Mario 64.
super high on it.
Nintendo
Nintendo
claimed
stating
it
that
shipped
like
around
it's selling like
740,000
hotcakes,
GameCubes within
which
its
could
first
just be
week,
because video games
meaning
are
roughly
growing in general,
30%
but
of GameCube owners also owned Luigi's Mansion, assuming all 740,000 units were sold. By the end of its lifetime,
yeah,
Luigi's
see, that's the
Mansion
thing is like I
almost
put
sold roughly
over
333
350 hours I think
million
into Breath of the
copies
Wild,
worldwide.
and I absolutely love it. Majora's Mask I'm super high on. I think it's really difficult because it's like, to me, if you take any Zelda game, I think a majority of Zelda games are better than the majority of video games out there. Like if I were to create like a top 10 video games of all time, a majority of those would be Zelda games, just because I love Zelda games so much. But yeah, I love Majora's Mask. I hope the PC recompilation is good. I still haven't checked that out, but it looks really great.
Why did it take nearly a year for Nintendo to release a new Super Mario game and instead launch their brand
This is
new
something that I remember
next-generation
when
console
Luigi's Mansion
with
came out and
Luigi's
around that
Mansion?
time, where it's like,
The boring answer is
why?
because Super Mario Sunshine had a tumultuous development cycle.
and
Luigi's
ended
Mansion
up being
had
that.
originally been in development for
Thank
the
you.
Nintendo
I do believe
64
that's a base take,
before
but
switching over to the GameCube.
sometimes I've been told
And
I have
with
really
the
bad
info on
takes.
how the team influenced the graphics and controller, it's more than likely their development team had come up with a solid idea for a technical demo that was then further fleshed out. In Mario's case, there had been rumors of Mario 64 2, and a demo showed off titled Mario 128. Mario 64 2 seemed to be a possible Nintendo 64 disk drive game
So
or add-on that was more than likely canned due to the failure of the disk drive.
I actually really enjoy most of the Dark Souls games. I played 3 all the way through. That's the only one that I fully beat. Not because I like couldn't beat it, it's just because I didn't feel like playing them anymore. But I also did really like Elden Ring, and I like Dark Souls 2, and I enjoyed Dark Souls 1 a lot. But it's like a different type of game for me. And to me, the way that Zelda is just so special. So it's hard for me. But yeah, no, Dark Souls are really solid games as well. This is an ending that I'm really proud of as well.
With GameCube sales,
this is behind the scenes. This whole like recording me playing the game off of my TV was something that I came up with at the last minute. The video was practically done, and I was like, wait a minute, I would like to do this as an exit as well. So
play Luigi's Mansion on. The series itself, though, lay dormant after its.
And you can see the corner of my End of Evangelion poster there. I wish I framed it a little better, but you know, that's how it goes.
As well as making characters like.
Also, shout out to Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers for including Luigi's Mansion stages. That was really cool to see when I was a kid.
Nintendo had been wanting to create a sequel to the first game for many years.
This is something that was also really cool, is like, I remember being younger and Luigi's Mansion 2 coming out, and I was just like, why now? Like, what's the point of this? But, you know, it being with the 3D effect of the 3DS, which is something that they wanted to do initially, was crazy. This drives me crazy, this highlighting thing. I wish I had fixed as well. I don't know if that's in the final video, but I think it is, and I wish I fixed that.
With us and made us think about a sequel. Finally, in 2013, the long-awaited sequel.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate that. I try really hard with the openings and endings. It's normally what I conceptualize first, sometimes even before writing the script. But yes, also Evangelion Pog. Love those. Love the show. Love the movies. I have the N64 game.
The first game, Luigi's Mansion 3 for the Switch.
Shout out to Black Ops 2 Zombies. Yo, Soggy Pretzels. Shout out to Black Ops 2 Zombies.
Luigi's Mansion 3 was also praised for much.
Not even because it has Luigi's Mansions and Buried, just because it's Black Ops 2 Zombies, you know?
And it returned to a portrait ghost style with different floors the player needed to explore and capture ghosts in. Luigi's Mansion.
So that was a bit of my bias coming in, where I talked about how like 3 was returning to the portrait style ghost, which is objectively true, but like that was something that I preferred a lot compared to Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon.
In 2018. By now, it's well known that the first game may be a tad short, but it's an exceptionally fun game. Not surprisingly, Luigi's Mansion was overshadowed by Mario Sunshine as a fan favorite for GameCube owners, but it's still a favorite of many, especially the ones who grew up as player 2.
And the young video game docs, Halloween 2004, how could we forget? Too bad I was dressed up as Mario, though. What crap, am I phony? But, Sarah, I think that that's a hot take, personally, having Buried be your favorite map. Trust me, I do really enjoy Buried, but I can't say that it's my favorite. I think that's a hot take, even though Black Ops 2 is probably my favorite zombies. I don't know if Buried would be up there for me. And that's also true. Yeah, growing up as a Nintendo kid, it's just different. I try not to be biased when making a lot of these history things. Like, you know, for example, another kind of behind the scenes look, I never owned a PlayStation 2 prior to making the video on the PlayStation 2. So it was really difficult, not really difficult, but it was like getting a new perspective, or like, you know, understanding these things, and like, you know, talking to people who grew up with a PlayStation 2. That's like, you know, it's different because like I never had that experience. So like, how do I approach this as a documentarian, and how do I write about this? How do I film it? Stuff like that. That's something that I really try to think a lot about, especially for games or consoles that I didn't personally grow up with. But yeah, definitely a hot take. Soggy Pretzels, I do agree that Origins is really good. don't know if I agree that the best map is easily Kino or Origins. More of a Mob of the Dead guy. I do agree, Finn Escobar, that Buried is too easy, especially if you know how to get set up. Mangy Stray, I waited in line from 3 a.m. for a PS2. Kudos to you, dog. I have never done that before. Granted, midnight releases aren't really a thing anymore, but I've never done that. The most I did was I skipped school to go get a Nintendo Switch. But I wish I could have done that. I also love when you talk specs, announcement, development of consoles. I don't see this often. Okay, so that's actually something that I think is really interesting, because I get a decent amount of comments talking about how I talk gobbledygook when I talk about the tech specs. And check out Adam Korlick. Love Adam Korlick. I think he's made really good stuff as well. But I've had a decent amount of comments saying that, like, you shouldn't be talking about the specs, no one cares, stuff like that. And I remember actually running into this. I remember writing the PlayStation 2 script and getting incredibly technical about it. And I remember looking at my wife and being like, should I do this? Like, is this too much? Is this pushing people away? And then I was like, I don't care. I like making it. I like writing about it. I like learning about the tech specs of these consoles. So I'm just going to do it anyway. But I'm Sarah, I'm glad that you enjoy it. I'm glad that you love the specs. I do think it's really, I think it's really important, you know, when making a history of video like these, to talk about the announcements, to talk about the developments of these consoles, you know, where they started, where they went, how they came about. But thank you. Thank you. I try to simplify it, not only for the viewer, but also for me. I'm not a computer wizard necessarily, but I can understand just about everything that I read, but I don't know the super specific in-depth technical details that some might. Like Digital Foundry, for example, they do a really good job. I mentioned them earlier, but they do a really good job doing, you know, in-depth looks at games and the technologies that they're running. But noted from Sarah and Mangy Stray to please keep up with the tech specs. I'll keep doing it. I enjoy doing it, so don't worry, it's not going anywhere. Howdy, new viewer here. The very technical aspects are great for those interested in homebrew development. Thank you, Mark. That's actually a great perspective that I hadn't even thought about. So thank you for throwing a comment. Thank you for joining us. Again, if you feel like it, I'm probably going to be ending stream soon, just because feel free to throw another couple questions in the chat. Don't worry about that. We're still doing kind of a Q&A, either about the channel, Luigi's Mansion video, or any other video in between. If you have a question, feel free to toss them in. But just a reminder, as you can see right there, video game docs X hit save. Any monetization, any revenue, any money that is made off of this stream is going directly to hitsave.org, a nonprofit focused on video game preservation. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. They don't even know that this stream is happening probably. But I think they're a really great organization. And so yeah, just trying to give back to the preservation community, because I myself, I guess I'm part of the preservation community with these videos. But I'm glad you guys enjoy the tech specs. I'm glad that they're helpful and great for those interested in homebrew. I hadn't even thought of that. Thank you, Mangy Stray, for the $5 Canadian. Really appreciate you. Let me see if can I heart that? Yay! Sweet. Going into recommended lately. I've been watching N64 stuff, and your documentary came up on the top of my recommended the other day. Yeah. And that's something that's, you know, crazy as well. The PlayStation 2 video is doing incredibly well by my standards. But that's something that, you know, I've just been kind of trying to do. I don't have the most subscribers. I don't have the most views on a lot of stuff, but I just keep trying to put out high quality content, and it seems to be leading somewhere. I mean, I can even do it 10,000 subscriber special now, which is crazy. But thoughts on Nintendo's DMCA on Vim's Lair? Soggy Pretzels, I'll get to that. Finn Escobar, keep up with everything, how you put the videos together. I really don't have criticism. The videos are awesome. Have a good night, man. Hey, thanks, Finn Escobar. Thanks for joining. Hope you have a great night as well, dude. And thanks for supporting the channel. everyone that's here right now. First super chat, I think. Thank you, Sarah. I didn't want this channel. That's great. Yeah, let's celebrate their third super chat on live stream. But well, thoughts on Nintendo's DMC on Vim's Lair. So I actually heard, I don't know if it's true or not. I remember seeing somewhere that it was a fake DMCA takedown. But if that's not true and it was a real DMCA takedown, I think that's pretty garbage. Especially because Vim's Lair does not ask for money. I think that's just a bad idea. I don't think they should have done that. Yeah, rip Vim's Lair. I think they were a really great resource just as like a library of games. And it's really sad to see that games are being taken down like that. Hold on. All right. Well, let's see. I'll wait another few seconds in case anyone wants to drop a few more questions in the chat. Some of their games have been taken down in the Nintendo section. Yeah, I remember seeing that. I do remember hearing though that like it was kind of up in the air whether they were real or not. Like they tried to track down the person that initially submitted the request, and it was like in contention whether it was actually a Nintendo or not. But if it was Nintendo, either way, really garbage thing to do. Damn, I missed it up to now. Will you put this on YouTube? Yes, this will be on YouTube as soon as the live stream ends. It will be a part of the channel, so feel free to watch the full stream, what have you. You'll be able to rewatch all of it. I did a Q&A at the beginning to just kind of do my 5K Q&A that I didn't do, and then doing a little question and answer now, but then did some developer commentary, or director. I keep saying developer. I'm not a developer. I did some director commentary on the video itself. So feel free to scrub through and listen to that. Kind of blew by, honestly, but yeah. The tough thing about Vims was the download speed, from what I remember. I haven't downloaded from there, and I've never downloaded from there, actually, but what's my least favorite 3D Mario? Ooh, that is unpopular, Sarah. I don't agree with that at all, actually. I don't know if you're here for that, but Mario Odyssey is one of my favorites. It's Odyssey. My top three are like Odyssey, Sunshine, Galaxy 2. But that's probably an unpopular opinion, is that I have Sunshine in my top three. So maybe I can't say anything on Mario. Yeah, Mangy Stray. And that's the thing is like, sometimes it's just nice to be able to look at a lot of the games that are on there. Like it is really a layer. It is really a library of old games. And so it's like nice to be able to see some of those things. And I think they have like, I think some of them, they even have manuals, they have discs for them. And it's like, it's just a really cool resource to have. And, you know, I can't believe you're going to be taking stuff like that down. I think it's a bad idea from Nintendo's part. I wish they hadn't done it. If they did do it, I wish they wouldn't target anyone that's not actively attempting to profit off of them, because that's kind of a gray area. But yeah, very slow download speeds. But still a great resource at least. But Mario 64 for sure, favorite platform of all time. Favorite platformer is different to me. If we're going favorite platformer, I actually have to say Celeste. Celeste just blew me away with its level design, with its platforming. Just wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful. Love that game. Vims is a fantastic place. Yep. It's great. It's a great archive. And then the alphabetic sorting was the best way to look at ROMs. And at the end of the day, like, even if it was slow, like, it was reliable. Like, you knew that you could go to Vims no matter what. Never grew up on Mario. I've only played Mario Kart 64. Mark, you know, I understand that. I do highly recommend playing through the Mario games. I think they're all really solid. And I also think that you should play Mario Kart Double Dash. Meat Boy for Indies, IMO, but never finished Celeste. You know, I've never finished Meat Boy. So, but yeah, no, I would recommend finishing Celeste. I would even recommend 100%ing Celeste. But that's because I love that game so much. So The risk of not asking for the same questions you already answered. I'll wait till 10K. You do awesome work, man. Can't wait to see more. Hey, thanks, Jingle Pope. I appreciate that. This is already, I don't know if it's clear, but this is already the 10K. So if you feel, I mean, feel free to ask a question. But if you want to, watch through it again, then, feel free to come up with questions for my next milestone. Probably 25K, I guess, is the most popular one. Mario Kart DS is best. Mario Kart DS is solid. I like Mario Kart DS. I prefer Double Dash. I played 8 the most, but I prefer Double Dash of all of them. But all right. So I'm going to do 15K, my bad. All right, yeah. All right. I just want to make sure you weren't confused, Jingle Pope. But I'm going to do a last call for any questions. Toss them in the chat. I'll wait a little bit, and then probably like 1 or 2 more questions, and then if not, I'm gonna hop off here. And but before any other questions come in, I'll go ahead and say thank you to everyone for joining. I don't know how many people joined at once. I think maybe 12 viewers, but it's really cool to see talk to you guys, kind of have a little chat here, to do some director commentary. And again, thank you for those that did super chat. Thank you just for being here, but thank you for those who did super chat. Again, all of that money coming in from super chats or any monetization of this live stream will be going to hitsave.org, a games preservation nonprofit, just to support them, just because they're really good. I've said this a couple times, but I'm not affiliated with them. I kind of wish I was, but I'm not affiliated with them. I just really like them and love the work that they're doing. Last one. What Switch remakes of Wii U games did you think were worth buying? That's tough. I think if you could never get into Skyward Sword because of the motion controls, I think Skyward Sword is worth buying. Honest. I also think because the game was kind of stuck on there, I think Bayonetta 2 was a good purchase for Switch. I also think Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, but I did play it so much on the Wii and I knew everyone else would buy it and not worth buying, I suppose. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think Mario Kart Deluxe is probably like the least. Maybe you shouldn't buy it, but I think like some of the lower ones like Bayonetta 2, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, I think those are definitely worth buying. Pikmin 3, I think are definitely worth buying for Switch. But yeah, that's mine. All right, so 2 more. I have one. Are you interested in doing any sort of series anthology set of videos? There was another channel I used to watch, stop time ago, halfway through, and it was super enjoyable. Yeah, so I actually did a poll a while back, I think, on my YouTube community tab where I asked about that, and I'm still kind of like thinking about how I want to do that. I'm thinking doing a sort of series anthology set of videos. Wait, in terms of like an anthology set of videos, do you mean like part 1, part 2, part 3 of like one subject, or like taking all the videos that are already there and making an anthology out of them? While you answer that, as for platformers, I played Shadows of the Empire on N64. The game is pretty rough around the edges, but it had a fun debug mode to play around with. Shadows of the Empire was fun. I played a little bit of that. I don't think I ever beat it, but I didn't enjoy it. Okay, it feels so lifeless to me. Yeah, I kind of understand that. I like the roster only because Link was added. But aside from that, no, I understand. The only reason I really own Deluxe is because of like parties, like having people over. Excuse me, otherwise I wouldn't play it. So basically all the mainline Final Fantasy games. Okay, yes. So I have thought about that, and I've had requests for things like that, or like people asking me to like do all of the Street Fighter games and stuff like that. And I think the biggest issue is it would be such a major undertaking that like it would have to be a series that I really love. So like I can see myself doing a Luigi's Mansion 2 and a Luigi's Mansion 3 video, but that's probably not anytime soon. But like in theory, I've done similar things for the consoles. Like when I released the PlayStation 2 video, I even mentioned like I did a GameCube video, an Xbox video, Dreamcast video. It would feel, you know, I'm missing an opportunity to talk about the PlayStation 2 because I've already talked about that generation of consoles. But I've thought about it a few times of doing an anthology series. I'm still kind of just up in the air. I attempted something like that with Tales of Symphonia. I wouldn't recommend going back and watching that video. I think that's a pretty mid video overall. But IMO just finished the rest of Zelda ones and called that the end. Yeah, that's a good idea. That series of like just like showing off the boxes and stuff is a bit different. But Jingle Pup, I'll tell you this. If I do make an anthology video series covering every single video game within that series, I can probably guarantee you that it's going to be the Zelda games. I actually haven't covered, this is actually a surprise to me, but I actually haven't covered a Zelda game yet in terms of like a specific focused video, which is something that I'm going to do differently eventually. But yep, fair enough. Love your work either way. Excited to see more. Yep. I think that's going to be it, guys. Thank you all. I've gotten a couple comments about bringing the special or the, you know, series back with like showing off my boxes and stuff, so I might do that in the coming weeks. But look out for a video hopefully by the end of July. I'm not going to say what it is yet. You might have to wait for Patreon or an update on Patreon to see what it is. But thank you guys for joining this live stream. Thank you for donating. Thank you for watching in general. Thank you for supporting the channel in all the different ways that you do. I appreciate all of you, and thanks for joining us on this 10K live stream. I will see you guys later.